Hi, I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Javier Colon, singer, songwriter, known for his acoustical soul, is with us here today. Welcome, I'm John Mason, Downtown with John Mason. Javier, thank you for coming on our show. We appreciate it. What a lot of people probably know you for is having won the 2011 Voice.
Yes.
And we want to just ask you about that and also maybe about your background coming up to that.
Absolutely. Thanks for having
what
me.
I have here is you auditioned for the Voice. Before you auditioned for the Voice, you were a Hartford School of Music graduate.
Yes.
You had cut an album in 2002, I think it was.
I was signed in 2002 and cut an album. My first album was in 2003.
Capitol Records.
That's correct.
And it was Javier.
It was just Javier, just self-titled Javier.
How did the audition, how did the decision to do the Voice come about?
Well, it came about. It kind of came at the perfect time. I mean, I had been signed to Capitol Records in 2002. I released albums in 2003 and 2006. They didn't do as well as we all would have hoped that, they did. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting released from Capitol, and for the next 5 years, I kind of was trying to find a new deal. American Idol was pretty prominent at the time, and I didn't know if I would be even eligible because of my previous record deal. So I didn't even really think about going that route. And I got a record deal the regular way the first time. I figured I could hopefully try to do it again. And
now let me just cut you off there for a minute. Are you questioning your talent during those, between those albums when you say things didn't work out? Are you saying should I go a different direction? Is it my style?
Well, for those 5 years in between, I wasn't until about the fourth year where I said, okay, I've already had several companies kind of say that they were going to pass, that they didn't want to sign me, and actually just a month or two before I auditioned for The Voice was one of the final kind of what I thought was a dagger in the career, where I was very close to signing with Blue Note, and they ended up deciding to pass, and that's when I was like, okay, money's really tight at this point.
And how were you supporting yourself at the time?
Well, I mean, I was just doing music.
Really?
I was just doing music at
married,
the time.
though?
I was married with two children.
Wife working?
With two girls. My wife was working, yeah.
Okay, who's got the benefits? That's what I want to know.
She had the benefits.
There you go.
She had the benefits,
there you go.
for sure.
All right.
Yeah. So, it got to the point where it just wasn't, what I was making wasn't enough. I didn't have enough shows.
You're playing in a band at the same time? Or
No, it wasn't a band. I was just doing my own solo thing, playing in clubs, doing some corporate events, and
no real income though.
There was income. I mean, the years prior, I was on a college circuit, and I was making more money than I had, when I was on Capitol Records.
Really?
But that well started to dry up. So 2009, 2010 were really good. Well, I wouldn't say really good 2010, but 2009, 2008 were really good.
Now, is the wife on your case is saying, honey, I love you, but I need more income?
At that point, at that point in 2011, it was, she wasn't as much on my case as I knew what I had on the books and what I didn't have on the books.
Right.
And it wasn't adding up to what our monthly bills were going to be.
Right.
And I knew in a couple months, if I didn't have lightning strike, or if I didn't get some gigs just kind of thrown my way, there was going to be issues.
You ever think of I got to change careers? I got to go back to the city. I got to go back to carpentry. Do you have any other talents?
I mean, singing is what I do.
Really?
I do have a degree in music education, so I could absolutely have started to look for a job in that arena. But even if I was lucky, I wouldn't have gotten a job until September, and this was February. And in January we're talking about.
So how does the decision?
Well, what happened was my manager at the time got an email saying that there was this new audition process starting for for this new show, and they had just done it in Holland, and it was a huge success, and they're going to bring it to America.
Had you heard about the show?
I had not heard about the show. No one had heard about the show, except unless you were in Holland, basically.
You didn't know anything.
No. So they sent me. They sent some videos, some YouTubes of people on this show, and you couldn't understand the banter in between, but you could see them singing, and you could see the whole process. And I was like, I don't think this is, I don't think this is the way that, I don't think this is for me. I wasn't sure that it was going to work. And then what if it wasn't a success, and then you're kind of part of a show that wasn't successful, and that's not going to help you any. And I kind of started overthinking it, and I had to kind of be honestly.
So what's your wife's name?
Maureen. Yeah.
Maureen. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I had to be talked into auditioning, which
by who?
By my brother and by some friends of mine saying you can't miss this opportunity.
Yeah.
My brother put it best when he was like, I told him I wasn't going to go to the audition, and he said, "What else do you have going on that would make you think that you should miss this?" Right. And I was like, touche. It's like, I'm like, you're absolutely right. I've got nothing going on. I just was told no by yet another record label, and I should give it a shot. So I did. I went to the first audition in New York, and it all took off from there.
Was it kind of like American Idol in the sense with the long lines and the crazy,
For us, because I had a manager in the business, there was a people in the industry day, and then there was also the long line cattle call day. Yeah. And fortunately, I didn't have to go to the long line cattle call day. I was able to go on the second day where the lines were shorter, and it was more almost by appointment, so to speak. But now,
your audition song to get on the show was Cyndi Lauper's song?
Time After Time.
Yeah, Time After Time. And was that the song that all the judges loved you? And one of the first times, I think, where they all agreed, thumbs up?
Right, that was the first time that they had all seen me, and they all had pressed their buttons and turned around.
So how did you come to choose that song? Why would you choose?
That's a song that I had been singing in my shows for about a year or so, maybe a little more, and it always had a good reaction. And I said, I wanted to go with my best foot forward, and I thought that was a song that I did in my own way, and kind of I hope I did a good job of it. And
obviously you did.
And people seem to like it at our show, so that's why I chose that one.
Was there one judge that you connected to? I know Adam Levine chose you for his team, but was there one judge that you kind of had a more of a connection with than the other judges? Or is there that connection when you're performing in front of them? Or?
Well, you mean for when I was performing? Or,
right.
I wasn't. I mean, the way it works is that their backs are to you. You're singing, trying to get on one of their teams. They're all competing against each other, and I was hoping to kind of go on either Adam or Blake's team, but I really wanted it to be a gut decision, and really, if I got one person to turn around, I would have been ecstatic. But if I got more than one person, then that means I get to choose where which team I get to be on. And all four of them fortunately turned around, and Adam was just very he was very adamant about having me on this team.
Well, they all were, weren't they initially?
They were, but Adam was 80% more than everybody else. He really showed me that he wanted me on his team, and in a competition where the first half of the competition, your coach is the one that's deciding who stays and who goes. You really need to feel some sort of love from your coach and some confidence. And I really felt that he said at one point, he said, "I want to win this, and I need you to do it." And
at what point, as a performer, now there's thousands of people auditioning for this. At what point do you say, I might have a shot at this? This might work out, and I might, is there a song? Was there one, reaction, or was there one comment made?
There were comments made, and in the media, a lot of people were calling me a front runner, but that actually would make me feel worse because I felt like if they say that you're the front runner, from the beginning, then I feel like people are expecting something, something different. They're like, well, the front runner from the beginning can't win because that wouldn't be interesting. And I'm thinking, this is TV, you know, and just that year or the year before in American Idol, probably one of the best singers, Pia from American Idol, she should have won the show, and she went home in like 6th or 7th place. And that is where one of the reasons why I never felt safe, because I mean, regardless of how people say you should win, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to. So that made me uncomfortable when people would say that. So I never really felt like I was going to win. Like I never let it get into my mind that I was going to win. I always, you know, said, you know, be thankful for how far you've gotten, and if you get farther, great, but don't expect to win. That's kind of how I put it to myself.
Now, where do you stay during this time? I mean, you're not obviously coming back and forth home?
No, they have you at a hotel, so you're all kind of in a hotel.
So what's that like? I mean, for that period of time, is it partying? Is it mingling?
There's a lot of mingling, and you know it's.
Now, are you getting paid during this time?
Yeah, they definitely take care of you so that you're not you know taking care of your meals and giving you something to
but
be
I mean,
able to live.
Paying bills back home.
Exactly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not they're not giving you,
and how long is that?
A whole bunch, but they're giving you some money.
Yeah. How long is that process?
For us, that process was there were 6 weeks that we were out for the first part, and then we came home for a little while, and then the live shows were another 6 weeks. It's longer now because the seasons drag on a little longer. They have different pieces of the show now that they didn't have when I was.
Now, when you, what was I going to say? Shoot, I lost my train of thought. Support along the way during this time. Is it Maureen? Is it your brother? Is it? I mean, do you even need support? Are you on a roll once you're chosen and you know?
Well, you always need support, you know, and you know, support from my family was key, you know, knowing that the kids were well taken care of at home, and that my wife was
3 children, right?
Well, 2 at the time, but now 3.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely was, you know, needed to know that everything was good at home, because I couldn't go back. I was pretty much sequestered there for 6 weeks. We couldn't leave the hotel really, so you know, it was the support was definitely key. And my wife and the kids flew out on a couple occasions. My parents flew out, my brother flew out, so there was definitely a lot of support.
When you were announced as the winner, what do you do that night?
That night,
$100,000, right?
Yep, and a recording contract exactly
with Universal.
Right.
Where are you that night?
That night there was an after party, voice after party that was.
And everybody's looking at you jealously.
You know, I think
no good.
People were, you know, that's the good thing about, you know, getting to know your fellow contestants in the hotel,
it's not like
living
Miss
together.
America contest where
not at all. Not at all. You know what? We all have the same love and the same desire.
It seems that way on
we
TV,
all just want to succeed, and we want what want what's best for each other. At the same time, it's a competition, and I know that. But there's some really, really great people that I had the chance to meet on the show. So we all really, you know, cared for each other and wanted what's best, and I didn't feel any animosity at all.
You didn't feel that?
From them, no, not at all.
Now, are you in touch with any of the other contestants?
I am. I still reach out to them. We still text and occasionally talk, and if someone comes in town, I try to go see them if I'm in town.
How about Adam Levine? Any
Adam, absolutely. He, you know, I went on tour with Maroon 5 in South America last summer, and. When he came here, you know, we played golf over at Tumblebrook, and we had a good time. So, so we're still friends. We still talk, and I'm actually working on a new album. So hopefully, I'll get a chance to talk to him about that as well.
How about your relationship with CeeLo and the other judges? Was there any kind of social aspect to it after the show, or I guess during the show? Were you
during the show, you don't get really too much time to mingle with the other coaches,
right?
Because they're there when they're taping, and then and when you're working with your coach, it's just your coach. You're not working with the other coaches, so you really only see them, you know, during the show and in the backstage, in between, shooting and stuff like that.
But besides the highlight of winning the competition, anything stand out in your mind where you went, wow, I'm in the big time, or
A couple moments, while I was still on the show, and I got to sing "Landslide" with Stevie Nicks, which was just a phenomenal experience, and getting to meet her and
was there any dialogue before or after?
Yeah, there was dialogue before and after.
Yeah.
And actually, I saw her in January, and I got to go. I went backstage and talked to her, and
wow.
She's still very, very sweet, and wants to know how I'm doing.
Is she solo or is she with Fleetwood
No, she
Mac?
was with Fleetwood.
Oh, she was.
She was with Fleetwood.
Okay.
It was one of their last shows of their tour in Vegas, and I happened to be there, so I went to see her. But yeah, so that was a highlight. Going to South America with Maroon 5, and one of my favorite moments is performing in front of 35,000 people in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Wow.
And it seemed like everybody knew my music. It was
really?
They treated me like
I've heard that
like royalty. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I really was really moved by that crowd, almost to the point of tears, that I felt like I had made it at that moment, and it wasn't even my crowd. I'm sure they were obviously there to see Maroon 5,
but
they just made you feel so welcome, and there's such lovers of music in South America. So
we're going to take a break, and then you're going to play for us, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, we'll be right back. Stay with us. Hi folks, it's John Mason with John Mason, Downtown with John Mason again here. We're with Javier Colon, and he's going to play a song for us. Javier, it's all yours.
Awesome. This one is my audition song for The Voice. It's Time After Time. Lying in my bed, I hear clock ticking, think of you, caught up in circles, confusion is nothing new, flashback to warm nights, almost left behind, suitcase of memories, time after. Sometimes you picture me walking too far ahead. You're calling to me. Can't hear what you said. Then you say, go slow, I fall behind. Second hand unwind. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Yeah. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will get you. I will be waiting. Time after time. After my picture fades, darkness has turned to gray. Watching through windows, wondering if I'm okay. Secrets stolen from deep inside. The drum beats out of time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Oh, time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find find me time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I will be waiting time after time. Time after time.
Wow. It was great.
Thank you.
Good going.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. That song led you to eventually win The Voice. And like we had mentioned earlier, $100,000, a record contract with Universal. And your first album was Come Through For You.
Yes.
But I had heard that you felt that Universal didn't come through for you.
Right.
What's the deal on that? Like, what didn't you? I think it debuted at 134 on Billboard, and,
Right.
and you felt what? I read different things, but you
Right.
tell me.
Well, you know what? When you're on one of these shows, I'm very thankful for having been on the show, and the opportunities that it has given me have been phenomenal, and I will never, will never regret having gone on the show ever, because it's changed my life completely. When you win a show like this, it's kind of like an arranged marriage. You get kind of put with a label that may want you or not want you, but they're kind of stuck with you, and you're kind of stuck with them, so to speak. I mean, I think things started off, very, very fine, and everybody there was, it was very nice.
Let me cut you off. Did they influence? I mean, somebody had said it was described as hot AC. Is that? What is that anyway? That was the format of your music for that album. Yeah,
exactly.
And is that your and what is it? Is that your decision to do it?
That's hot AC is probably the style of music that I make, and I think
it's not hip hop.
It's not hip hop.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, there's hip hop. There's pop. There's alternative.
Yeah.
There's multiple different forms of or formats of music. But I would probably consider myself a hot AC / pop artist.
What is hot AC? What is it?
Hot AC
is it an abbreviation for something?
It's kind of a mix of pop and more adult contemporary. The AC is adult contemporary.
Basically what you played to win the competition, right?
Pretty much the entire way. It's kind of I played my cards as who I was. I mean, I mean,
did they tell you no hot AC, or did they say we want you to do more?
I think they wanted me to be more of a pop artist than I am, and they wanted me to do some songs and things that I just necessarily I just wasn't comfortable with. I just didn't feel that it was true to who I was and true to who I was on the show.
Animosity going into the album? Did you
feel not going into it?
Yeah.
I went in.
But I mean, like during that, did you get a feel that they were kind of leading you down a path you didn't want to go down, or?
Well, we had some questions kind of towards the beginning about why we weren't going with a particular single that we had debuted on the show.
Which one was that?
That was Stitch by Stitch.
Stitch by Stitch.
Stitch by Stitch. But they didn't want to go with that single. They wanted to go with a different single, and that's kind of where my questions began. And
you are temperamental. I knew it. I knew when you demanded.
No. I'm not temperamental, but that's when the questions kind of started to arise, and all I can say is that I think they tried to do. I think they tried. I want to say they tried their best. I want to hope that they tried their best to make things work. And I also tried my best to make things work. And sometimes things just don't pan out the way you'd like them to. And that was the case with this. What I'm very glad about is that when I asked to be released from the label, they were they could have tried to save face and say we can't release the first winner in a year. It's not going to look good. They could have played that game.
Well, how does that work financially? Like if they didn't release you, they just keep paying you, or you just keep
it's not that they pay you. It's just you're actually paying them in a way because of your contract. Any money that
they
you
get
make,
a percentage.
They get a percentage. So I was very thankful that they released me when they did, and you know, I can't, you know, everything honestly, to me, John, everything happens for a reason. If it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be, and I'm thankful for, you know, for what they did do, and for the show that really helped revive my career, and
I don't mean to belabor the point, but
No
at
worries.
what point, you know, the album's done, do you have a bad feeling about sending the album out, or do you see that they're not promoting it? I read different things about it. Well, what's the, you know, you're looking at the paper and saying what's going on?
I felt the album wasn't ready to be released because we didn't have time to promote it what I would consider properly.
And promoting is what, going out and playing?
Going out and playing, and going to radio, and, you know,
letting them know you're
just
out.
you know, just hitting radio hard, and you know, going and letting people know that an album is coming, and usually you have a runway of 8 weeks to do that, and I think we had about 2 weeks. So I wanted to push things back, and, you know, it didn't work out that way. But again, you know, it is what it is. I don't lose any sleep at night over it. And,
no confidence lost.
No confidence lost, and I feel good about how things ended, and I feel good about where I am, and you know, I'm very excited about.
Let me get your opinion on this real quick. I read something where American Idol producers seem to support their artists more after the show. In other words, promoting, you know, their careers and stuff like that. Have you read anything about that? Do you feel like they kind of, once you won, you were on your own, or could you have used a little?
It's hard to say because I don't know intimately how their system works, the American Idol system.
Right.
You know, so I don't know from the inside, you know, what they do and don't do, and what works for them. You know, and I can say that I feel I did get, you know, some support from The Voice. I mean, I came back on second season, and I did a performance, which was awesome. I don't. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, could you get more support? You could always get more support. They could always they could put you in every sitcom, and you know what I mean. But some of that stuff, you know, obviously they can't do everything. But you know.
Let me backtrack, and I didn't really ask you about who influenced you. Like, how did you get to this point? Whether you know, won The Voice or not, but how did you, you know, get to this point? You know, as far as being a musician and.
You know, I was influenced, you know, early on by the music that I would hear when I was a kid. My father has always been in the radio business. He was a radio DJ here in Hartford, at WLVH it used to be back in the day, and now he owns his own radio station in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And when he was at work, my mom would be listening to him, you know, all the time, and we would just, you know, the constant background music. You know, it was just music, you know, and it was always on. And I started to imitate what I would hear, and that's kind of how music kind of started in my life, and started playing the guitar and the piano when I was about 7 years old. Started writing songs when I was about 10 or 11.
Do you remember your first song, like what it was about?
Yeah, it was. Actually, I think it was in Spanish. I took the. Actually, it wasn't. Okay, the first song, officially the first song that I wrote, was a song called "Lost Without Your Love." I haven't done this in a long time. It was horrible, but I mean, I wrote it for a girl that I wanted to be my girlfriend, and it worked.
Do you remember her name?
Her name was Caitlin. Yeah. Baby, wake up, open your eyes. There's something I just gotta say to you. I know you were there for me, but I just couldn't see all the things you've done for me. You were so hard to find, but you were right here in my mind. Yeah,
nice,
something like that.
Nice.
Anyway.
Where's Caitlin today? That's the question.
No, she's not my wife. No, that was a.
How
you
old
know,
were you?
I was in 7th grade or something.
Grade,
yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
All right.
I think that was my first official one that I wrote from start to finish. Yeah.
What are you doing today? Now, you had mentioned about your show. You have a show on, is it Back Nine?
Yeah, Back Nine Network.
Yeah.
I'm an artist in residence with a new network that's a new startup that's called the Back Nine Network. That's it's a golf and lifestyle network. That a golf and lifestyle network.
Wow.
That I'm a golfer.
That's right. I read that.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. And I've known
What's the
Jamie.
format?
It's basically the format of my particular show, or just our show is called Your Shot, and what we're doing is we're getting folks to send in 15-second clips of themselves singing.
Wow.
And we're kind of critiquing them, and we're going to have some winners that move on, and we're going to basically doing a contest where there'll be some prizes and things at the end for the winner. But we're excited. It doesn't have anything to do with the voice. It's not in competition or in any way like it. It's just something that we're doing on the side.
How about performing wise? How are you doing with that?
Performing, I've been running around a lot. I mean, the last month, I was in Hawaii and just kind of traveling everywhere. Texas, Florida. I go to Maine at the end of next week, and I go to Florida again. Just kind of been everywhere, which is good.
Yeah.
You want to keep busy. Being busy is good.
We got like 30 seconds or 53 seconds.
Okay.
What do you fantasize about? What do you really dream about? Like, where would you like to see yourself, in 5 years from now? Or what do you hope to?
As long as I'm, as long as I'm doing what I'm doing, and I can support my family, and I can travel the world, and I can sing songs, and people will come to see my shows.
Do you strive to beat up a photographer? Do you look forward to being on TMZ?
I don't look for any. Yeah, I don't like being on TMZ. That's not where I want to be. Usually, I mean, sometimes you be on TMZ for good stuff, but I'm not. That's not what I'm looking for. I just want to play music, and I just want people to come to my shows and be able to make a good living and be able to support my family, and that's the bottom line.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay.
Very nice to meet you. Thanks so much.
Okay, folks, that's it. We'll be back.